I am Canadian. I am Canadian. I am a Canadian. Damn it, I'm a Canadian. What does it mean today to be a Canadian? It's a very serious question because we're on the world stage. I mean, Harper has put us there. He talks about Canada being the beacon on this hill, that we are the shining example of how economies can work. So we're being watched. What does it mean to be Canadian? Well, first of all, we've got to get a clear picture, and we've got to remember the fact that politicians don't always tell the truth. So when they talk about Canada's economy being so powerful and strong, well, in some ways, and to some people it is. But the fact is that we have a big problem with poverty, all the way from Victoria, British Columbia, to Halifax on the eastern coast. Poverty is a very major issue with young people, single parents, elderly. I mean, there's a lot of people. I heard today on the news, 250,000 elderly live in poverty. How can that be when our country is so rich and wealthy, and it just seems to be just going along hunky-dory that we have a problem with poverty? But there's a lot of other issues. You know, we're on the world stage, getting involved in Libya, Syria, maybe even Iran. A war in Iran is coming, maybe. Because we want to bring those people opportunity. We want to solve their problems. Well, prior to departing to Davos, Switzerland, Prime Minister Harper met with the First Nation leaders. And guess what? We have problems at home. First Nation leaders. Now remember, First Nation means Native Canadians, Native Indians. This was their land before the white European settlers arrived. This was their land. And the dismal conditions that they live in doesn't do justice to third world countries. So we go into countries and we say, well, you know, you can't have people living in those conditions. I mean, look at that. There's hunger, famine, the government's watching them. There's all sorts of different things. Have you seen the conditions on First Nations? The houses, lack of education, alcohol abuse, all the different issues. How is it possible that a country so strong and powerful, so looked high on in the world as Canada is, has such a dismal record with First Nation? I mean, we're just lucky. We are lucky that the First Nations don't have the population and the support to say, okay, you've had enough fun with the country, get up, it's time to move along. We're taking it back. We're repossessing it. There's a lot of issues. I mean, Harper is going to be heading off to India and to China to sign trade deals. India, one of the most corrupt countries where bribery is a way of doing business. It's known. The Indian people have been demonstrating in the streets wanting change. Their politicians are corrupt. Now we're going to deal with them. You know what that means? That we're going to have to get into the trenches. And I'm just so afraid that a lot of our companies are going to be involved in payoffs and doing whatever just to get in that door. And we're going to be dealing more and more with China. I mean, Chinese are great white hope because we're going to ship them oil and China needs it, and China is so good and great. At the same time, they're talking about how China oppresses people in Tibet, their own people. There's spies on its own people. There's imprisonment. There's all sorts of different issues. China is not an open democratic country. But we're going to look the other way because guess what's involved in it for us? Money. Jobs, money. And when it comes to our morals, we're going to sell ourselves out to the highest bidder whenever we can. So what does it mean to be Canadian? Are we going to get involved in more wars? Maybe get involved in a war against Iran? Why? Well, because other countries are doing it. Remember what parents say to kids? You're going to jump off the bridge if somebody else does it? We don't have to be. Being Canadians can put us onto a higher ground. But we have to stand our ground. We can't let the politicians take away what Canada is and sell it to the highest bidder. At least that's the way I see it. Thank you. Okay, so if you hear the word profiling, people are being profiled, you tend to think of the United States after 9/11. Arabs were profiled. They couldn't get aboard an airplane. If they came into an airport, everyone was looking at them suspiciously. To some extent, it still happens today. That's profiling. It's happening in Arizona. People are profiled. Mexicans in Arizona are routinely pulled over and checked to make sure that they are legally in the United States and not illegal aliens. We don't expect to hear that in Canada, profiling. But that is just what happened right now after the Vancouver riots. Vancouver Police Chief Jim Chu came on the air and was talking about how real Vancouverites weren't responsible for this rioting, how real Vancouver Canuck fans weren't responsible, that this was a group of anarchists and they came prepared for a riot. They had brought with them incendiary devices, they brought weapons, signs, whatever. They came prepared. And that's really ironic. And to me, that is a very definitive profiling, because just today, it was reported in the Calgary Herald that an elite athlete who was headed to the University of Calgary on a scholarship has been suspended from Canada's water polo team after images surfaced of the teen trying to light a police car on fire during the Vancouver riots. In my opinion, as humble as it may be, people were caught up in the moment. This means Vancouverites, hockey fans, whoever was there was caught up in a moment. And while we're talking about the moment, all of these images captured at that moment by people wandering around with still cameras, video cameras, cell phones, awesome to see it. Because the media is trying to minimalize, like, why are people doing this? Why are they staying down there? Well, let's get it straight. Citizen journalism has a place in our world today. And if the people weren't getting in the way or inciting more rioting, but just documenting what's going on, that is no different than what happened recently in Iran, in Egypt, what's happening in Syria. We're depending on citizens because they're on the ground in the middle of the action. This is no longer the exclusive domain of a media that could have ulterior motives. And many times today, mainstream media is driven by government policies and different issues about how and what it reports. So, to have people on the street taking pictures, taking video, is a good thing. And I applaud every one of them. Now, how does media play into this? Well, let's take a look at what's happening right now. Everyone is trying to figure out what happened in Vancouver that night. And again, all the fingers are pointing at anarchists. Nobody is asking the hard question about what role alcohol played in this scenario. You know why? CBC television, I wonder what percentage of their revenue on any given hockey night comes from liquor advertising, specifically beer. Beer and hockey go together. Beer and hockey fans go together. Downtown Vancouver, how many bars depend on the hockey fans coming in, drinking, watching all the big screens all over while they're drinking beer? It makes big money. That goes for restaurants that are serving liquor. People go to restaurants. Again, there's TVs on there. They're eating, they're drinking. It's a big revenue source. And the government taxes the living daylights out of liquor in British Columbia. British Columbia has extremely expensive booze prices. It doesn't matter if it's wine, beer, or hard spirits. So there's a vested interest by media who don't want to upset the beer companies, whether it's Kokanee or Coors or whoever. They don't want to upset restaurants and bars. And the government doesn't want to point finger at liquor because it's making a ton of money off it. So I'm going to ask a very difficult question right now. What would happen, God forbid, if we stopped advertising liquor on television, on billboards, newspapers, whatever? And that includes beer, because we have stopped that with cigarettes. Now let's take a look at this in a bigger picture. The government says it can't legalize marijuana because it's a jumping off drug. It's a drug that gets, if people start smoking marijuana, they're going to think, well, this is no big deal. Next thing you know, they're doing crack cocaine and heroin. It's just a way to it. So how many young people out there, I'm not talking about people of age to drink, but I'm talking about teens, 10, 12, 13, 14-year-olds start out drinking beer. They start out drinking beer because beer is glorified in television commercials with the hot chicks, the hot action, the hot sporting events. Beer is glorified. It's a fun drink. It's a drink that you drink at parties. You gotta have beer, man. You gotta drink lots of beer. It's glorified. Teens start drinking it. There's DUIs. There's accidents. People are killed. It's a starting off booze. It's a starting pattern, and it continues on when they're 18, 19, 20, when they get into the bars, they're watching hockey. At the hockey arena, there is beer being served because it makes a lot of money, and nobody wants to upset that cart. But I think perhaps I'm going to start writing to politicians and asking them how they would feel about banning television ads for beer, billboard ads for beer, and beer ads in newspapers, wherever. Perhaps we should start examining that issue now. At least that's the way I see it. Okay, this little video is like, which one of these guys is not like the other? Because if you think about it, there are great similarities. Cindy and I are watching 2.5 Men, and I'm going to admit it, that's one of my favorite shows. I think it is so well written, and Charlie Sheen fits the spot. He is Charlie. He's 2.5 Men. I don't care who they put in there to replace him, it'll not be the same. But anyway, I'm watching the show and I'm thinking, Charlie Sheen sure got it from the media, from all different sides. He got fired, he's lost his job, and everyone was ridiculing him. He's an actor. He's a Hollywood actor. Movies, television, now stage, going around doing his little talk things. But he's an actor. And then there's these two politicians. You got Anthony Weiner, who a little over a week ago is on every television show, talking to every anchor, saying, I didn't do it. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if that's my picture or not. I don't know. Maybe I got hacked. Maybe it's a joke. Somebody's playing a joke. I didn't do it. I don't know anything. He's lying to everyone. And then the other side, you got Bill Clinton, another politician who got caught with his hand in the cookie jar, so to speak, you know, Monica Lewinsky's story, when Bill Clinton was president in the Oval Office of the White House. Now, if it's really ironic, Bill Clinton's wife, Hillary Clinton, is who Anthony Weiner's wife works for. And the two girls are off in the Middle East right now. I can't imagine what they're talking about, the men in their lives. I mean, think about this. Those two women are away with all this behind them. I know it's got to hit the conversation time to time. And in the meantime, you got Anthony Weiner calling Bill Clinton for advice or whatever. I have no idea, but it's been documented that the two of them have been talking. So here's the thing. There's two politicians who I can see teachers saying, you know, these guys are going to Congress, to Senate, maybe a mayor, president. Kids, you can all aspire to be like that. You can do all of this. In America, you have the stars, the sky's the limit. You can accomplish anything you want. Charlie Sheen is an actor. He gets fired. Bill Clinton never got fired or impeached, and neither has so far Anthony Weiner. He said he's not quitting. Now, it is possible he's going to quit at some time, but he hasn't quit yet after he lied to the people that he represents. Isn't life strange? At least that's the way I see it.